Awake living into uncharted territory together, accelerating your wellness path, plus your interconnectivity at the same time. It's not your grandma's Ayurveda, but it kind of is. It's the Yoga Healer Real Life Show with Kate Stillman.
Hello, everyone. It's Kate Stillman with the Yoga Healer Real Life Show, and it's my pleasure to invite into the show Lucia Giovannini, who's this incredible human being who's done a lot of different things in her life. She's the author of 13 books. She's an environmental and animal activist. She has a new book called A Whole New Life. It was published first in Italian, and now it's translated into 8 languages. She's often called the Italian Louise Hay. And you do a lot with adventuring, it sounds like, as far as being a firework instructor, and also you've been a supermodel. It sounds like you've had an incredibly diverse life.
Yeah, well, I would say so. Yeah, definitely. I actually like, to try new things. Sometimes also to push myself to the edges to see, what kind of experiences I can, and what kind of teachings mainly I can get out of that.
Yeah, I would love to hear about that. So what do you feel like right now is the core message of your teachings as a yoga teacher or as a life transformational teacher?
Yes, I would say that change is possible anytime. And when I say change, I mean transformational change. Evolutionary change, positive change, because of course we change anyway, even if we are not aware of that. I mean, we change, but the question is, which direction are we changing to, like a better version of ourselves or a worse version of ourselves? So
yeah,
the idea,
like regeneration versus degeneration, right? Like you're gonna do one or the other. You're not gonna stay in a static state.
Exactly, because life is about change. If there's one certainty in life, is change. So exactly, it's evolution or degeneration, definitely. So my core message is, change, evolutionary change, positive change is possible at a personal level first, because of course, first we have to take care of ourselves, of our life, and make it, more, not just more beautiful, but also more meaningful. That's the idea. And then also at a social level as well, because I think that personal growth and social growth, and by social growth, I mean more respect in the world, more peace, more compassion. So towards not just human beings definitely, but also towards Mother Nature, towards animal, other sentient beings that, live in this planet with us.
Yeah. Yeah. So as our personal evolution evolves, we start to have greater care. We start to have greater levels of connectivity and realize different levels of interconnectivity is what I hear you saying in that.
Yes, absolutely. That's, I think that's my core message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's different concepts in yoga that really, I find, have spoken to that for so long, like this level of personal evolution where you get to an experience of not needing anything to support you because you are the universe and intrinsically supported by the universe at the same time. It's that transition into another level of experience, that niralambaya, that beyond needing something to support you because you are part of the web. Like there's no longer the separate sense of self from environment or sense of self from elements.
Yes, in a way, I think it's when you develop this sense of connection with all that there is. I actually, it was many years ago, probably 20 years ago, I did an experiment on myself, and I basically lived on light. It was breathing, of course, but lived on for probably 20 days. It was not a very long experiment, but still, and I made it. And again, it started because for the same reason you said, I wanted, to try to not, rely on external things or energy and instead try to see what was going to happen just, by connecting to the universal energy. So it was an experiment.
Well, to me, this is a really important highlight of evolution, is that evolution is experimental always. And there's a willingness of plasticity, I think what becomes the neuroplasticity in running experiments. And when we take out food for extended periods of time, right? Or for some of us now, like taking out media for extended periods of time or brief periods of time, where we're able to run smaller, big experiments, and it starts to build a self-reliant capacity and a feedback loop that says, I can design who I'm becoming next. I can change.
Exactly. I can go out of my comfort zone, and I'm safe. And actually, what we call comfort zone should actually be called discomfort zone. Should actually be called like a prison. So
right, comfort zone is a prison. I want to highlight that. Yeah, the comfort zone is a prison. Yeah,
yes.
I mean that's the teaching of yoga, right? Like that's the teaching of toughness right there. It's like, guess what? It hurts, but it's necessary.
Exactly. Like when a muscle needs to, grow, or definitely. And as you said, I mean, the only way we have, the only possibility we have to grow, to become better person, to find and to develop new talents and to find new meaning in our lives is actually to get out of our comfort zone and go into the unknown and step into the unknown.
So let's talk about this, especially with moving through different decades of life. Right. When I read about what you've done in your life, you've had different epics, you've had different identities at different phases, which is natural for a dynamic person. Someone who doesn't just get stuck in, it's like the old high school reunion story of the football players, and they get together and they're still reminiscing about an identity they had 30 years ago because they haven't moved on, right? And what you're demonstrating and living is the opposite of that, of like when you continually move on, you can see very different skills and personalities even, and focuses or achievements that mark different stages of your past and open new possibilities into your future. And what I'd like you to do is kind of compare that against people that haven't really evolved or haven't allowed that plasticity of self, or gotten stuck in that prison of comfort along the way.
Yeah, well, I think that of course there's a price you pay, okay, for continually moving on. And the price you pay, the price I paid is uncertainty. The price I paid is, even financially, when I was a successful model, of course, I was earning a lot of money and I was leading a very glamorous life. And then I let all of that go, including my marriage, including, my friends, everything, to follow a dream. It was not probably even a dream at that point. It was just an idea, something that I felt in my heart, but it wasn't so clear what I was going to do, because at those time in Italy, if you would say, I'm going to be a coach, I'm going to be, to lead retreats, people would stare at you and say, what? I mean, so it was really like jumping into the unknown. So of course, I paid some prices in that sense. But again, I think that most people stop at asking themselves, okay, what are the prices that I need to pay? Maybe less money, maybe lose some friends, lose my stability, but they don't stop to ask themselves, what is the price that I am paying every day staying in this situation?
Yeah. And what do you see is the price they're paying? I mean, there's different levels of it.
There's many levels of it. There's many levels. First level is that they don't give themselves the chance to really know themselves, to really be in contact with their soul, to live their life mission, their hero journey, whatever name we want to give to this. And to me, this is the highest price of all, because I think that we are here in this planet with a mission, each and every one of us. And so if we don't do anything to discover this mission, to be in contact with this mission and to live this mission in our lives, we basically failed our life. So this is a very, very high price. And so, yeah, and what I see is that lots of people, then what happens is they lead a life that has no meaning. And so they give meaning to trivial things like, I don't know, eating, for example. I mean, I'm not saying that eating is bad, but that's not the meaning of life. So we are not here on this planet to eat and to leave tons of poo on the planet. So that's another high cost that they are going to pay, leading a meaningless life and feeling, since we humans need to have meaning in our life, then they look for trivial meaning, shopping, drinking, eating, and that, again, it's a very high price to pay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and there are many. I mean, they don't really live true relationships, because at that point, since they don't value themselves fully, they are in need of someone else to value them, of someone else to give love to them, and so they become slave to relationships, end up with the wrong person continuously.
Yeah. Or they're stuck in their other relationships where they're reinforcing old identities of the other person and themselves. A lot of people find this with their family or extended family or their coworkers, where they keep reinforcing how things are instead of moving into a dynamic.
Exactly. And they create reasons for each other at that point, because they not only stay in their own prison, but they want to make sure that the other person stays in her prison too. So everybody's safe.
So it seems like a big part of how you shift people out of that prison of comfort is through helping them face some of their fears. Like when I look at that you're a fire walk instructor, right? There's something very intentional about fire. Fire element is sharp, it's hot, it's cutting. If we just look at the basic elemental level, it is the embodiment of transformation. Of the 5 elements, it's the one that is transformation. And there's an intensity. When you walk through fire, you are not the same after. When a log gets burned, it's not the same after. And there's light that's given off. There's potential for a level of clarity of vision that fire element embodies. And so I'm curious, I think a lot of people listening are thinking like, I have some of those stuck tendencies and I want to be more awake. Like I want to experience more of that near all Alambaya, like so on my soul's journey that I don't need much validation from other people. I have validation coming from within, or coming from a connection to a higher level of connectivity. So tell me about, for these people listening, what are some of the first ways that they can start to meet their own fear of leaving the prison of comfort?
Yeah, well, fire walking for sure. It's a fantastic ritual. By the way, it has been practiced all over the world by thousands of years. I mean, it probably was generated by the Indian, the Shivaiti communities or temples. But then it spread, I mean, in many, many countries. I'm in Thailand right now, and here on the island of Phuket, we have a fire walking done in the Chinese temples every year, just to give you an idea. I spent part of my childhood in Africa, and in Africa there are fantastic, I mean, in certain tribes, they do incredible fire walking rituals. So it's very interesting because our ancestors used already this practice, again, in order to connect with the divine, whatever name we want to give to the divine, I mean, and again, also in order to face their fears. Maybe they had different fears from us, I don't know, but still they were using this kind of practice. Because as a matter of fact, when you do something that you believe impossible, like walking on hot coals, or even if it's not impossible, very, very difficult, and you actually do it, every single cell of your body starts to, create a new paradigm, has a major shift. And then after that, it's pretty impossible to say, oh, I cannot make it. Oh, I'm not good enough. It's too scary. Because you have that experience as a point of reference and you keep it for your whole life. So, of course, this is really something that I like to offer precisely in order to help people to move from fear to courage, from fear to action. And of course, I mean, not everybody is willing to firewalk. So other things are, just feel the fear and do it anyway. That's the idea. The idea is not to feel, because I think there is also some misunderstanding about what courage is and what fear is. Fear is just a natural, normal emotion. And the idea is not to feel fear. But the idea, feeling fear is normal, but the idea is feeling that fear and realizing that fear is just the energy. So you can use that energy and go forward. And that's precisely one of the teachings from the Kalahari Desert of a bush tribe. They are called the Kung. They are great master firewalkers. And they do incredible things. They take coals and they rub coals on each other's body. They don't just firewalk, they do incredible things with the fire. And actually they say that when your num is equal to the num of the fire, and the translation in English of the word num is energy. So when your num or your energy is equal to the one of the fire, you can walk the fire unharmed. And the idea is to feel the fear, to see it and to feel it as energy, so you have a high energy and you can face any obstacle, because in that sense, the fire represents the obstacles, the challenges in your life. Yeah. So the idea is again to transform that fear into action. And of course, if it's something important for you, then you do it anyway. You just align your energy, feel the fear, focus your energy, and then prepare yourself and then go. And it's such a wonderful metaphor.
I'm Kate Stillman, and I'm inviting you to our upcoming Yoga Healer live experiences. What is a Yoga Healer event like? A deep transformative immersion, an evolutionary experience. At a Yoga Healer live event, you will lean into the power of dynamic groups, connect with other driven and supportive people, empower your Dharma, adventure into new inner territory, accelerate your growth. Think bold, bright, energetic. Deepen your authentic power, individuality, and ability to lead. Come, meet us in person. We are a visionary and evolutionary global grassroots movement, innovating ancient and emergent holistic wisdom through dynamic group experiences that guide self-healers and wellness pros into thrive. Let's be together, a 3-day innovative immersion, Yoga Healer style, where we invite you to come as you are and practice liberating structures, experience action learning groups, develop collaborative leadership skills to bring home to your people, your family, your work, and your peer groups. Come, play with us. To grow yourself and deepen your power, you will experience a breakthrough. I hope you're coming. To get your ticket, go to yogahealer.com/events. That's yogahealer.com/events.
Yeah, and it's interesting how in our Ayurveda, fear falls under the domain of Vata, right? So you have air and ether, and you have air as movement, and ether is the unknown. It's expanding space. So it's going into its new frontier, its new potentiality. So you have movement into potentiality. When there's a negative association with movement into potentiality, it becomes fear. When there's a positive association, it becomes excitement or curiosity, right? It could just be, certain people don't get as excited, but they get curious. It's like the cat who's looking around the corner. Like what's around the corner? What else could happen here? And when I hear that, feel the fear, there's that sense of getting in touch with, it's very, very different than the elements of water and earth, which are the elements of comfort, which become complacency, which become the prison, right? Because you literally get weighed down by water and earth, where you don't get weighed down at all by air and ether. You get out of your own normality.
Yes.
I love that, what you said as well about the raising your energy to the point where, and there's a focus to fire, right? Like in our Ayurveda, fire is this mentally, it doesn't go to fear, it goes to focus. And so cellularly, when you raise your focus, when you raise that vibration, and it is a digestive quality. It's just that air and ether, right? Because you can't have high air and ether and have that kind of focus. Like you need it to be in a way used as fuel, right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
you have cellular alignment, you have cellular focus, and now you can do the impossible. Now you can cut through beyond where you've gone. And there's an edge to fire. It's like an edge of a knife, that sharp quality to fire. It's like being willing to go beyond the edge, completely aware, right? It's so interesting what you said about how the fear has to be presenced or this whole thing doesn't work. You can't go in, it's like you can't be cut off from it, because what that really looks like is stupidity, right?
Yeah.
Where it's not integrated, it's not digested.
Yes, totally. It's so fascinating because, I mean, coming from two different traditions like Ayurveda, Indian tradition, or this explanation that comes from African shamanism, but they get to the same point. And
because it's elemental. I keep coming to this. All indigenous cultures, all humans have the elements baked into us. And if we can awaken our awareness to the elemental level of understanding, we have superpowers.
Yes, definitely. And what is happening in our society is that we are more and more cut off from the elements.
Yeah.
Another price to pay for people who, don't dare to go beyond their comfort zone is that they are totally cut off from their senses and from the elements. So, and from wisdom at that point, their cellular wisdom. Yeah, their ancestral wisdom. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk more about that, because how old are you now?
I'm 55.
You're 55. And so your peer group, you're starting to probably notice massive differentials in your peer group that's been on a life evolution journey, and your peers that have, were aiming for that retirement and they're right. That's like a little different, right? That have more maybe of a fixed more of the mindset, because it's going to be a totally different reality in the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades. And I'd love for you to talk about some of the ways that you're helping people kind of wake up.
Yeah, definitely. And especially women, because with going through menopause and all, that's another, super interesting journey, because what happens, during menopause is that with the hormonal imbalance or with the hormonal changes, the amygdala gets stimulated, and the amygdala is exactly where the amygdala and the hippocampus, exactly where all the old fears are stored. And so lots of women my age, that's what they experience: anxiety, fear of the future. And partially is because you're getting old, okay, but partially it's also because old fearful memories get stimulated. And I think that it's not by chance, because our bodies are so intelligent, so wise. This is happening because these old unresolved emotions must come to surface in order to be released, in order to be worked on. And so what I notice among some of my friends, they when these fears come up, what the reaction is, they try to cling to the known, to their usual, life. They try to cling to their roles, for example. They super identify themselves to, I'm the wife of, I'm the mother of, or I am the manager of. They cling to their certainties so that they don't feel fear anymore. But in fact, the fear comes even bigger at that point. So the only...
It's that they cling to the certainties at a time when physiologically there's an evolution to release the certainties and to go into, I don't know who I am, right? Exactly. And if there's not a willingness, this is the invitation from nature, this is the invitation of the stage of life, this is the invitation of the elements to go into the air and ether time of life, to really go into the unknown, right? Yeah. And if the invitation isn't accepted, if the heroine doesn't go on the quest,
then it's a mess.
It's a mess.
It's a mess, because the call becomes stronger and stronger. And if you don't listen to it, it may become an illness. It may become, something even,
Well, and the way that we don't heed the call is, we'll have a couple glasses of wine. or, oh, we'll have an extra brownie or piece of cake,
Yeah.
or
I'll go
right,
out and buy another bag. Yeah.
buy another bag, right?
Yeah.
A nice Italian purse, a
Yeah.
new pair of sunglasses. Yeah. Well, and I want to talk about that too, because there was a conversation I had with Dr. John Douillard years ago, and he was talking about teenage girls and menarche, and if they're sourcing their power from their second chakra at menarche, it's very hard for them later in life to source their power higher up from their third chakra, personal power. So second chakra, for those who don't know, that's sexual power or sensual power. So if they're validating their identity by their sexuality, right, and they live their life that way, it's a very different life than sourcing identity from personal power, third chakra, or heart center, connectivity, fourth chakra, right? Or, if they move up, right, beyond that. So if a woman has identified with her sexual power her entire life, right, that can get really lodged from menarche on, and now she's going through menopause, she's going to have a really hard time with how her physiology is changing, and she's going to start reaching for surgeries and Botox and all sorts of interesting things.
Yes, and I saw that happening with some of my friends who were models before, who were modeling with me, and of course they are my age, and of course, I mean, body changes, and you start seeing lines in your face, and that's okay, and I mean, it's part of the changing process. But as you said, if you identify with your second chakra, if you're with your sexual powers, if you identify with your body so much, then you'll have more problems, definitely. By the way, I had this wonderful conversation with an old woman here in Thailand a few years ago, and she was so beautiful, this woman. And she was quite old, and I happened to tell her, oh, but let me tell you, you are so beautiful. You don't look your age. And she looked at me, and she was quite, resentful. And she said, why? Don't I look wise enough? And for me, it was like eye-opening. I said, oh, okay, I'm going to use that, because totally different paradigm for her, that tribe, having wrinkles on your face was a sign of wisdom.
Right? Sourcing power more from sixth chakra, right?
Yes.
Of like, no, I see, I know, right? And it's I just want to highlight this for everyone listening, because it's so fascinating. You can hear where people are sourcing their power from. You can also see it, but you can hear it in how we speak to each other. And that is such a great higher elevation way of speaking, right? And you can get a hit instantly of like, this is a call to wisdom.
Yes. It definitely. And so,
act your age is in that too, right? Like, act your age. Like what a beautiful idea of like, wow, how will I be when I'm 65, 75, 80? How do I want to be?
90. Yes. I actually suggest women, for example, I say especially women, because we have some model for men of power, even in their 70s, 80s, older men that are still running the country. Okay, or older men that are still running companies, but not so many models of elder women, in their power.
Right.
So
even though we live longer, right? I mean, it's a total. Even though we live longer and healthier longer.
Exactly. So most of the models of elder women we have is, granny, the old woman who stays at home, takes care of the children, or even if she, sees some friends, but not, exercising her true power. So something that I really advise everybody to do, but especially women, is to start looking for their own models. How do I want to become when I'm in my 80s, in my 90s? What do I want to do? So I suggest vision boards on that subject. Because
I love it.
The how we are going to be when we are 8 years old, 70 years old, 90 years old, we have to plant the seeds now, to grow into that person.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. I was listening to Dan Sullivan, a strategic coach, yesterday, talk about how he looks towards towards who he wants to be in 20 years, and what are the habits that person has, and what actions will he then take today just knowing that habits are cumulative, right? And habits are compounding interest to who we want to become next. There's a lot of behavioral science that's showing that who you want to become is more or less accumulation of very small habits that are very easy to do.
Yeah. Thomas Eliot, one of, American most important poets, used to say that life is measured in teaspoons. So it's little actions that, in the end, create who you're going to be. So little actions and habits, definitely. So are your today's habits bringing you to be or growing you into the person you want to be or not?
Yeah. I love it. So I would love to hear, just in closing, what you're seeing for yourself in this next phase of your own becoming.
Well, what I'd love to is that my job can really help people, to in a way self-actualize. I don't know how else to put it, to become the better version of themselves, and collectively to create, a world of more, compassion and love for all sentient beings. So in Italy, I already created a strong community of people, but also teachers and coaches who actually are teaching a whole new life method to their communities. And they also do, and we also do a lot of charity work with animals and elders, etc. So I'd like that to become worldwide. And to connect with other communities worldwide and together to create a movement. That's how I see it.
I love it. A friend of mine wrote a book called Super Ager. Have you heard of it? It's by Elise Marie Collins, and she just released it a few months ago. Okay. And it's about the blue zones, about the people who live the longest, healthiest lives on the planet. There's a few communities that have been identified, and she analyzes what they all have in common. Like the connection between purpose and community is so high, right?
It's paramount.
Paramount. Yeah.
Yes. We have one blue zone in Italy, by the way, in Sardinia. And I went there to give some workshops and to the youngest ones, not to the elders, but it's true. The sense of, connection, and not just family, because, being Italian, we have strong family bonds. But it's not just family, it's communities, which goes beyond your family. Otherwise, it's just my family against the other families, and it's not. It's community, it's gathering, and purpose. That's the second thing. Yeah. So that's what I'd like to create or to help create.
Excellent. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'd love to point people to your website, which is, I'll spell it. So for Lucia Giovannini, it's Giovannini, LuciaGiovannini.com. And again, Lucia's newest book is A Whole New Life. And I'm so glad that we've had a chance to connect. I can't wait to find out what we're going to talk about next.
Thank you, Kate. It's been wonderful, really. And I can't wait to talk to you again.
Oh, awesome.
It's the Yoga Healer Real Life Show with Kate Stillman.